I want to welcome everyone and thank you for joining us today for our webinar, Empowering Virtual Exchange in Higher Education, a Success Story. My name is Clayton Harrington. I am the Vice President for Institutional Relations at the American Higher Education Alliance, also known as AHEA. I also want to thank the Consortium for North American Higher Education Collaboration, also known as CONAHEC, for being our steadfast partners in working on our virtual exchange projects, educational technologies, and also helping us in putting on this webinar. So thank you very much. Again, we really looking forward to the discussion, the webinar today.
Hello, good morning. First of all, thank you for having me and giving me the opportunity to share my virtual exchange experience using the InspireEd platform. My name is Leo Guzman Anaya. I'm a full-time research professor at the University of Guadalajara in Mexico. I'm a member of the national system of researchers in my country. I teach professional ethics at the undergraduate level and research methods, macroeconomics and econometrics at the master's and PhD levels. My research interests are oriented towards international economics, special interest on inter-industry spillovers and locational determinants from Japanese foreign investment in Mexico. So again, thank you for the invitation.
Hello, everybody. I'm Robert Steinbauer, Associate Professor of Business Ethics at the Goodman School of Business at Brock University in Canada. I pretty much do everything business ethics related from teaching and researching. It's a beautiful day in Canada, so I'm outside and enjoy the 25-ish degrees centigrades. I'm looking forward to a great webinar.
Good morning, everyone. This is Ismael Kurot. I am the Academic Services Coordinator at the CUSEA campus for the University of Guadalajara. Glad to be sharing with you from the administrative point of view in today's webinar. Welcome.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Sean Manley Casimir. I'm the Executive Director of the Consortium for North American Higher Education Collaboration. We're based in Tucson, Arizona at the University of Arizona. And we're a 501c3 nonprofit organization that's existed now for over 20 years and has been working to encourage international collaboration among higher education institutions for that time. So I'm excited to be here with you and excited to have Brock University and University of Guadalajara here, as well as our partners, the American Higher Educational Alliance.
And thank you for joining us, everyone. My name is Carly Grant. I'm the president of American Higher Education Alliance. And my background includes about 10 years as an administrator in higher education at 3 different institutions. And then I moved into education technology specifically for higher education before coming to AHEA about 2 years ago.
All right, wonderful. Thank you again to all of our panelists for introducing. We're excited to get started here. I won't take a whole lot of time, but I did want to take a few minutes to give our participants a little bit of background about our collaboration, the virtual exchange collaboration we started with CONAHEC and how it came about. So AHEA is, of course, a nonprofit organization. Our mission is to drive equity in higher education by connecting the global community through collaboration and shared learning experiences. AHEA is also very interested in supporting internationalization at universities and looking at how to move that process along and where the needs are. And so on that front, one area where we had identified as a need, of course, I think for many institutions in their internationalization process over the last several decades, a lot of time has been given to student mobility programs, which are, of course, very important. But also at this point, I think, at least before the pandemic, very well developed element of internationalization. So I thought that one place where there is really a lot of need, I think, at many institutions are opportunities for faculty engagement at the faculty level. While many faculty are engaged in their own international activities, very often there's a lacking sort of concerted effort or strategy at the institution level. So we are very interested in trying to find ways that we could find opportunities for faculty to engage. Likewise, curricular projects. I know there's a lot of great interest at many institutions in trying to decipher how do we actually internationalize our curriculum and content of various courses for the domestic student populations that will not actually be traveling abroad. And then finally, of course, we were very interested in educational technology, how that supports higher education and how we could further the internationalization process by implementing various educational technology tools. So that brought us, of course, to the virtual exchange COIL method. It was a very logical connection, as in we see COIL as someplace where many of those things intersect. It both empowers and engages with faculty in internationalization and working on an international project. At the end, it's also a curricular project that helps to provide international opportunities for students within their courses. And of course, it utilizes technologies in order to provide those learning experience for the students. So it's a very natural connection based on our interests as an organization. Then also I'll come to our connection with CONAHEC. CONAHEC, again, I have known about for a very long time, a wonderful organization that for nearly 3 decades has been facilitating collaborations within North America and other countries around the world as well. I want to give a special recognition to Sean Manley Casimir, the executive director of CONAHEC, who I've known for well over 10 years. We knew that they were a pre-existing network that had various programs that had already been engaging with faculty for some time. So we started the conversation also with CONAHEC about a collaboration that would be COIL using our inspired technology platform, which we have been developing, and you'll hear about more later on. I also want to mention that we've been working, we also brought in Dr. Stephen Tippett as someone who was very highly familiar and expert with the COIL virtual exchange method. Stephen spent several years working at the SUNY COIL Center, which I think deserves a lot of credit for sort of pioneering and popularizing COIL and virtual exchange as a method over 10 years ago. And he also worked under Dr. John Rubin, who I think also deserves a lot of credit for helping to pioneer the COIL virtual exchange concept. So with that, we started last year, last fall, with a group. We worked with CONAHEC to find collaborators from universities within their network and then pair them together. Of course, we have Dr. Leo Guzman from the University of Guadalajara and also Dr. Robert Steinberg from Brock University in Canada with us today. There were 2 of the pairs that had a very successful collaboration. You'll be hearing a lot more from this later on. And also, of course, you'll be learning more about our inspired educational technology platform. Here we are. This was also our attempt to gather some information about, I think there's a tremendous interest in virtual exchange and COIL right now. And the question then is, well, what are holding folks back? What are the main obstacles that are preventing them from taking advantage and participating in a COIL? So you can see from this list here, there's a wide range of things. Just to highlight some of those things, of course, that very last one that will receive the most responses, finding a good peer matches with whom to collaborate. That is something else that we're hoping that our inspired platform is designed to address, that we can get users on there and they will be able to actually help facilitate the process of them finding faculty collaborators that are interested in similar projects. And that's feedback we've gotten from numerous universities in various countries. That's something that they struggle with. There's interest on the faculty part, yet how are they going to go about actually finding the collaborators from their partner institutions? So that's something that we're interested in. I would also mention, of course, that within the context of this webinar, we're going to be talking very specifically about virtual exchange and COIL. We are hoping, of course, in the future, our platform is going to be able to facilitate different kinds of faculty collaborations in addition to virtual exchange. And then also, of course, I could spend a lot of time delving into the details of each one of these, but I won't do that at this time. And then also, I just wanted to share with you, of course, the vast interest. I think that this speaks to international education, of course, as a community is inherently international. We do have participants spread across, it appears, virtually every continent here. So that is very exciting for us. I think it speaks to the level of interest that we have in COIL and virtual exchange, and also, of course, the international network of the coalition of universities that we're hoping to construct around these kinds of collaborations. So with that, I think I am done with my introduction, and I wanted to turn it over to our colleague and AHEA's president, Carly Grant.
Thank you, Clayton. We are so excited. We have 26 countries represented today with our 142 participants, and it's really exciting to see that there is that much interest in global collaboration when it comes to teaching and learning. I want to just talk a little bit about AHEA, and then what we'll do is show you a brief demonstration of the platform that Drs. Guzman and Steinbauer used, so that you have some context, some visual context to understand the framework of what they were utilizing to build their course together. And then we'll really get into the conversation, both from a faculty and administrator level of what that pilot program was like, what it was like to be a faculty fellow, the challenges with teaching and learning, virtual exchange, things of that nature. So just to get started, AHEA is a newer nonprofit serving higher education, but we're a little bit different. As Clayton mentioned, we have as our mission statement that we drive equity by connecting the global community through collaboration and shared learning experiences. So what exactly does that mean? Well, that means that two things. First and foremost, AHEA is really built, and we exist to support the heart of each institution, teaching and learning, and we do so on a global scale. So we are based in North America. However, as you can see, we have interest from all over the world, and we have partners from all over the world that have worked with us to date. And that's really important now more so than ever, and particularly as we emerge from this global pandemic, we know that the implications for student mobility and for faculty exchange are going to be hampered for the next couple of years. And so we are proud that we have a solution that helps address and provide technology to support your efforts to expand your classrooms and to meet with, network, and collaborate with other peers from around the world. Our membership program is built at 3 levels. We have an individual level membership for faculty and administrators. We have a department or cross-departmental level of membership and an institution-wide level of membership. And I want to note that as we launch our membership program, what's really exciting is that from June 1st to September 1st of this year, we are promoting our membership, and will give anyone who applies and meets our criteria for quality assurance measures, they will be able to utilize their membership and have it for free for 12 months. So we felt that that was a good way to really promote the spirit of collaboration, to help people understand who we are, and to connect individuals around the world. So you'll hear a little bit more about that later, but I really do want to get into the demonstration of this inspired platform. The platform that you will see is one of the member benefits for joining AHEA. So there are other member benefits. There's the networking, of course, and the professional development, and tools for faculty development, and for learning about online international collaboration and how to build courses and things like that. But we thought that providing those resources was one aspect, providing the technology to support them was another aspect. And so we partnered to be able to bring you this platform. So I am going to pivot over to our platform, and I just want to double check and make sure that you can see it. Clayton, could you give me a verbal if you see the login screen or not?
Not yet.
Okay, so what I'll do is I will start sharing again. And now you should be able to see it.
Yes.
Excellent. So I have 3 different login options here because this is a demonstration environment, but what would happen is when you come to your environment, you would see your institution's name and logo. And so I'm going to sign in as AHEA University, which is our fictional demonstration and university, and input my faculty credentials, sign in, and you will see me land on the home page of Dr. Bradley Dexter. He is a business faculty member that we are using for the purpose of this demonstration. And this is the screen that you are seeing. I'm going to enlarge it in just a moment. There we go. Okay, so we are on Bradley's homepage, and this contains a lot of information. What I want to point out is the ease of navigation. So you have a left navigation column, and as I scroll down, you'll notice that the different areas highlight as I'm passing over them. And you'll also notice that on the right side, there are corresponding tiles to the menu items. So my courses on the left navigation, there's a my courses tile on Bradley's screen. This is a combination of a lot of sources of information, and the inputs of this information can include not only our collaborated solution in the Inspired platform, but our learning management solution, which is called Blended, as well as our student information solution, which is called Connected. So just kind of scrolling up and down, you can see that there are a lot of tiles. You'll notice that there's a cog wheel in the upper right corner of each tile. That means that you can adjust where this tile lives. So you have the ability to move it around on the screen. You have the ability to go and anchor it in your My Tiles menu item on the left side. And think of My Tiles as an application store. So this is a platform. So not only do we have our own solution in here, but there will be several partner solution options in the tiles as well. So for example, if your institution partners with a particular bookstore and they are also a member of the platform, you can have a tile here to connect right to that bookstore where you can denote what textbooks you want to utilize for the course that you're creating. Students can easily go in and log in and be able to purchase those textbooks. Before we go into the functionality, I want to focus on a really important tile to us called resources. And this is a member benefit for all AHEA members. This is where you have access to a variety of information in different formats. We recognize that there are different learning styles that everyone has. Some of you will prefer to read a document and take it in and then do something in the platform after you've read through the instructions. Some of you will want to watch instructional videos and then go ahead and be hands-on. Some of you will want help and be able to click an icon to access the help. Some of you will want templates to utilize. So there are a variety of different formats of resources for all members. And just to give you an idea of what that looks like, when we go into the Getting Started area, these are all how-to guides to utilize the various pieces or components of the Inspired platform. Now, this is a page where you're seeing all of them at one point in time, but if you wanted to look up a particular topic, like how to collaborate, you could click on that topic, and then the information that's relevant to that particular topic will display for you. Likewise, I can go in and go ahead and bookmark a particular tile. And when I look at my bookmarks, it shows there. So I have quick access to things that are of interest to me, or resources that I really want to get to quickly to refresh my memory on how to use announcements or how to use collaboration aspects of the solution. So that's just a brief overview, but it's really important to us that we help each member have a good experience using the platform, and that we enable each member to have access to best practices and templates that are guided by quality assurance measures. So that's what you'll find in the resources. Now back to Bradley. I'm going to go into Bradley's profile. And this profile is a snapshot really of your professional life. It enables us as AHEA to create a member directory where others can search and find information about your institution and brief information about you as well. And it really is what powers our matching process that you'll see in just a moment. If I click on Edit, I can go in and I can see that there are a variety of fields that comprise Bradley's profile. And as a user, you are able to go and alter a lot of these fields. You can update them. So for example, if I focus on professional memberships or certificates, perhaps you recently gained or earned a new certificate in a particular aspect of your field. And so you can go ahead and add that to your credentials. There's also a brief professional bio and an introduction video, which I love because this is an opportunity for you to take, let's say, 2 minutes to explain to others out in the collaborated sphere of what you are interested in collaborating on and why. So it's just a glimpse really into your personality. So it will help bring your profile to life when others are looking to collaborate on course development or certificate or curriculum development together. Now that collaboration can happen in a couple of ways. One is to create an interest. And so in this right tile on the right of your screen, I'm going to go ahead and add a new collaboration interest. And what happens is a dynamic form displays, and I can select the type of project that I want to work on. As Clayton noted, we really started with the faculty fellows and working on course development, but there are a variety of other types of projects that you may want to collaborate with others on. And that collaboration may happen within your department at your institution. It may happen cross-departmentally. It may be in a given region, or you could open it up to a global collaboration option. This form is dynamic, so some of the fields on the bottom you will see change when I select course development. And what happens here is I pre-populated the data for the purpose of this demonstration, but you can see that Bradley has the option to say what he's interested in collaborating on, his preferred language to collaborate in, what type of collaboration he would like this to be, and then he can identify different disciplines. And you'll notice that there are more than one because we realize that a lot of value in collaboration comes from doing so across departments or across disciplines. So you have that option in the collaborated solution. Also, because this is a course development project, Bradley can denote, is this going to be delivered online, or is it an on-ground course, or maybe it's a blended course. And he can also input some of the characteristics of his institution, such as it's semester driven. This course typically would be 3 credits at his institution, and it will be taught at the undergraduate level. So we'll save that collaboration. You'll see that it now shows up on his collaboration interests tile. And here's where it really gets fun. Bradley can view more information. He can see that snapshot of the data that he entered. He can edit it from here, or he can say, find me some matches. So collaborated, go into the Inspired platform and find me the other users that share similar interests, have expressed those interests and want to work together. And so this is your digital directory at work. This is where people who have signed up and are members now start to surface where you can find each other. And if you recall from that slide that we showed that talked about what are some of the challenges in collaborating together, it's finding a peer. It's finding a professional somewhere else outside of your area, outside of your existence to work with. So we have solved that problem with Collaborated. So in this Rolodex, this file display, you can see that there are about 12 different matches, and they're graded from 50% up to 100% based on their interests and their qualifications to work with Bradley on that new course development. So from here, Bradley can go in and take a look at each of the institutions. He can click on the hot link to go in and look at the profile of each institution, or he can go right into a user's profile. We're going to select Inez. She is located in Portugal. And just like you saw with the profile of Bradley, this is the same look and feel where Bradley can now view Inez's information. He has this snapshot view of her, what she's like, what her credentials are, what her institution is like, what her areas of expertise are, and he can see what her collaboration interests are as well. So now he can take a look and say, okay, Inez is interested in developing a course as well. It sounds really similar and interesting. So I think I'll reach out to her, Bradley would say. So Bradley has the option now to chat with her. You'll see the little round circle with sort of the chat bubble in it, or he can invite her directly to work on this project together. When Bradley selects invite, what happens is the information that was in his interest defaults into this invitation. So we make it easy for you to reach out to other people, but we don't necessarily want it to sound like it's mechanical, that it's impersonal. So you see there's a full rich text editor here that enables you to really stylize and customize this invitation. So you can leave it as is with the default information. You can stylize it by bolding, texting, adding bullets. You can change the text in it. You can add links and pictures, emojis, video, a voice recording, things of that nature. But it provides the information to Inez to be able to receive this invitation and help her decide, is this something I might like to work on together? So we're going to send this invitation. And because this is a demonstration environment, what I'm going to do without logging out and logging in as Inez, I'm going to show you directly what her perspective is. When she receives this message from Bradley, she can go ahead and take a look and say, well, I've never heard of AHEA University. What are they like? And now she has the overview of the institution, and she can see their breakdown, their composition of students, their programs, things of that nature. She also can go back and look at that invitation and decide that, yes, I am interested in working with him. So she can read through the details and she can decline or accept the invitation. So Inez accepts Bradley's invitation. I'm going to click on home and we will be back at Bradley's profile now to see what happens. This shows up as a project in his My Projects tile. My Projects is the tile that gathers and organizes all of the various collaboration efforts you have going on, whether it's a course that you need to take, an orientation course that has been designated by your department chair or a dean to be able to teach online. It's a course that you could be developing. It's a certificate program you could be developing with someone else. We will pop in and we will take a look at this course. And now you are in what we call the lab space for Collaborated. And this is really where you and your collaboration partners will work together to design this course. A few things, you see some general information above. You see the 4 milestones: course identification, hours, resources, instructions. You see some general milestone information to be completed. And then you see a task management area. This is exciting because this helps guide the users to creating a course together. There are steps that are built into the lab space to help you stay within the COIL framework of developing your course, and it has best practices woven into it. And we'll see that in action in just a moment. You also see a tile of your project partners, and maybe as Bradley and Inez are working together, they decide they want to invite some additional partners. So they can go ahead, even though this project has already started, and they can invite others to work with them. And then what I love is below, we have this discussion area with the translation feature. So Inez's primary language is Portuguese. She's comfortable conversing in English, but maybe she feels better writing and responding in Portuguese. So she can do that, and Bradley can still see her responses in English. But you see this running dialogue back and forth of how they communicate with each other. So right here in this opening area of the lab space, we have created a space where you can work together that follows quality assurance guidelines, that enables communication without having to use outside sources, that crosses time barriers and language barriers. And those, again, were some of those issues that we saw on that identified list of working virtually on a virtual exchange project together. So I will go ahead and start this project. For the task overview, I just wanted to note that this project management space enables us to identify things that are really important to each milestone, but you can totally customize this as well and add additional milestones that are relevant to your work with your partners. And I mentioned the translation. I'll just show it here. It was Portuguese, and then we translated it to English. So we start in this first milestone. It's course information. I'm going to really go through these modals really quickly and fill them out because, again, it is a demonstration environment. So these are some of the things that get started where you identify with your collaboration partner or partners the basic constructs of your course. Now, each of these tiles that you see above, course identification, course hours, etc., those are tasks that are located below. And I can assign them to someone. I can denote that they're in progress or that they're completed. I'll finish that, show that they're completed. We'll move on to our second milestone, the course design process. This is where you really start to think about your topics and your learning objectives and the environments that you want to use to promote that learning. So I have these filled out already in our environment. I'll just go ahead and mark these milestones as completed. And below, I wanted to just touch on the file management area. You see that running discussion thread between Bradley and Inez, but they also, as part of their shared workspace, have the ability to store documents and manage the resources that they are creating for their course. So for example, they created a folder called course materials, and now you see course information, the design, the assessments that they are considering. They can upload various files and store them here and then work through them as they decide a draft version is the final version, or that they no longer want this particular article that they were going to use, and they can put that in the recycle bin. So it really enables that shared space. You don't need to rely on using Dropbox or Google Files or something like that to have to share externally. You won't overwhelm each other's email boxes with large files. This is all part of your lab space and working together on this project. We'll complete this milestone and go into the activity table. And this is a really detailed area. This is where you get into the breakdown of exactly what you're going to do on a week-by-week basis inside of your course. Now, I have the ability to pull in information that we've already inputted in other milestones. So for example, under the course design, I identified my objectives. And now without having to re-enter them or the learning environments, I can simply select them and add them to this week of instruction. You'll notice that my activity I inputted was syllabus review. I want everybody in the course to read the first chapter of their textbook. I can immediately go ahead and slide to the next week of instruction and complete that as well, and keep going and navigating forward, or I can save it as this individual week and then review on it, reflect it, fine tune it, and then start to work on additional weeks. For the purpose of space on the screen, you see 4 weeks of instruction, but really what we have is the ability to add up to 52 weeks of instruction. And so that's quite exciting because this means that for those of you who may have a 16-week schedule or a 6-week schedule, or maybe it's an ongoing course that doesn't have a defined start and end date, maybe it's a 2-semester course that's required to be taken in tandem. You can design it as a single course and then break it out, but you can accommodate 32 weeks of instruction if you want, or 30 or 52. So we'll go ahead and mark these tasks as completed. And then finally, we will go ahead and review all of the work that we've done. So in summary, we get to the very end and we have created our course, or in this case, our certificate. We have an output of all of the information that we have entered, and we have the ability to go ahead and export it, save it, enable it to be sent for review, and work with others on this. So there is a review process, and it is routed. We use a simple workflow to route it to the people that you've identified at your institution that have to approve and sign off on the course. I'm going to go back home. We wanted to show you what happens after that approval process. When Bradley has had that course reviewed and approved, and Inez likewise has done so at her institution, they are able now to see in their My Courses tile when it's time for them to be teaching that respective course. And if I select on this, what happens now is I move right from my homepage into the LMS, into the blended solution, or into what your respective LMS would be. And you're able to see this course, and you see the breakdown by week. You see the weeks of instruction, you see the activities that are identified that we built, you see the upcoming weeks. And this is a view very similar to what your students would see as well. So we take that course, we take that information, there's an export process to pull it into the learning management solution. And there you can either configure it, or if you have an instructional designer or a learning management administrator that configures the assignments and the quizzes and things, you can do that here in the blended solution. So that was very quick. I wanted to just kind of set that stage and help you see what our faculty and administrators experienced back when they were doing the testing for us. And with that, I really want to launch into the discussion now, because it's so important to hear from participants themselves and really from what your individual experience was. So I'm going to ask if we can help our audience members learn a little bit more about the institutions first, and then we'll talk about you as faculty members as well. But Ismael and Robert, would you each share what sort of international enrollment or international collaboration activities that you have going on at your respective institutions? Ismael, would you start us off?
Gladly. Thank you. Thank you very much. Yes, indeed, Universidad de Guadalajara is a public state university, and it's been in the forefront in Mexico for international higher education. And we mainly used to do the most traditional aspect of internationalization before the pandemic, which was exchange. Being a public university, we do not seek fee-paying students, degree-seeking students for pay, since it's not within our mandate. Unfortunately, Universidad de Guadalajara has to reject 60% of applicants twice a year. And these are Mexican citizens with a constitutional right for totally free education. That's why we do not engage into looking for fee-paying students or tuition-paying students at Universidad de Guadalajara. But what we do, and we have been doing quite successfully, has been student exchange. So numbers go up and down, but I would say that for the past 20 years, it would be at least 1,500 incoming students on a yearly basis from different corners of the world. I work currently only at CUSEA, which is one of the many campuses, campi or campi, Universidad de Guadalajara has, and the numbers would go around 300 students incoming, and it's equally around the same amount of students we do send abroad on exchange. This is based on reciprocity, where colleague and partner universities do not charge tuition, and we don't. And this is an opportunity for our students to go abroad. But that was the main showcase that we used to do in the past. And there's 669 agreements we currently have. And we also participate in third-party funding, research projects, and collaborations and cooperations. So our professors are also engaged in several projects that are international and also publishing their findings. But that was prior to the pandemic. We'll talk about a little bit later about what's happening to us now that we had to move and pay more attention to internationalization at home strategies, or more comprehensive internationalization, and not to put all the eggs in the basket for student mobility or professor mobility. Thank you.
Thank you. And Robert, Brock University has a really rich exchange student environment. Can you talk a little bit about your institution?
Yes, certainly. Well, first of all, Brock University is located in Niagara, which is really close to Niagara Falls. So for those who are not familiar with the area, it's between Toronto and Buffalo. And what's important, even though we're in Canada, we benefit from a very mild climate and have over 100 wineries nearby. So there are many, many benefits to studying at Brock University. That being said, Brock is home to around 19,000 students. And we already have a very diverse domestic student population. But in addition to that, we almost have, I think, 14% international students. So close to or a little over 2,500 international students that are currently studying at Brock University from over 100 countries. I work at the Government School of Business, which offers exchange opportunities with over 50 other business schools in 25 countries. So overall, it's a very diverse, we have a very diverse student population. And I know Brock University as a whole also has multilateral exchange agreements with CONAHEC, for example, the University Mobility in Asia and the Pacific, the National Student Exchange, and others. So Brock is, just like Canada, I would say, very diverse.
Wonderful. And now share a little bit with us about your background in teaching international students and really what got you interested in doing so.
Mm-hmm. Well, as you may can hear from my accent, I am from Austria. And during my undergrad, I started abroad in Liechtenstein, which is a very small country between Switzerland and Austria. And while it's not far away from home, this experience was life-changing. First, my study abroad was a major point during my job talk at the Austrian National Bank. So that got me the first really very well-paid internship. In addition, I also learned to cherish my independence and shortly thereafter backpacked through South America for 2 months. I then got my master's degree in Arkansas and my PhD in Memphis before moving to Canada. And in between, I did, I think, a 2-week Greyhound bus tour through the US, back through Thailand and India for a couple of months, and hiked through Yosemite for a week. So yes, I think this initial step outside my comfort zone towards Liechtenstein was open a floodgate that couldn't be stopped anymore. At Brock University, I teach business ethics at the undergrad and graduate level, and my travel story is always a big hit, especially with the ISB MBA program, the International Student Pathways, that's solely for international students. So we have a pretty high student population from India. If I tell them I spent 2 months in India backpacking, I took the regular train to random places. I took the regular bus. They always acknowledge that I have experience that is valuable to them. As you know, I recently started to work with Leo on the virtual exchange to give my students the same experience and opportunities that I had, I would say, during the pandemic and hopefully beyond that too.
Wonderful, thank you. I love your wanderlust, Robert. It's interesting just hearing about your various travels. And Leo, I know that you experienced a lot of wanderlust too, that brought you outside of your home country when you were studying. Can you tell us about your background?
Certainly, thank you, Carly. In my case, well, as a faculty member, I still have a bit of a limited experience in terms of international education. However, as you mentioned, I did have the opportunity to study my master's degree in economics in Japan. And I can say that this was one of the most fulfilling experiences of my life. And I think that it has impacted my teaching, and somehow I have tried to incorporate an international mindset in my students. I want to incentivize them to also seek out for international exchange and to visit other countries. During the last couple of years, I had the opportunity to teach some research methods, seminars at different universities, for example, Sophia University, Seijo University, Meiji University, and Aichi University, all in Japan. And currently, I'm teaching a master's degree course in global politics and Trans-Pacific studies that has an international component since the entire program is taught in English. And somehow I think that the tools that I have developed through this experience will enhance my international education activities moving forward.
That's wonderful to hear. And I think it's interesting to me that there's a common thread of your personal experience and how it's impacted your professional experience now. And I really appreciate that. I know I benefited from faculty members who opened my eyes and enriched my learning experiences and my opportunities. And it's just wonderful to hear that so much of that is going on and that it can be done virtually today. I want to change just for a moment. And Sean, I have a question for you. Clayton had mentioned that the two of you have known each other for pretty much a decade, and that you've been working together for about a year now to kind of identify faculty fellows for this program and to help collaborate with us on the ability to create a virtual international course. Would you provide a little bit more background on why CONAHEC decided to partner with AHEA in this endeavor and maybe what your initial thoughts were?
Absolutely. So as you mentioned, Clayton and I have known each other in various ways throughout the past decade or so, primarily through international education conferences where we would meet periodically around at different meetings and that kind of thing. And so we've had kind of ongoing conversations about our interests in promoting collaboration among higher education institutions. It's something that I've been very interested in since my years as a student, because I have a very similar background in terms of my international experience. I immediately started going abroad as soon as I could in university and managed to do so 3 times during my undergraduate degree. I was very fortunate, and also had majored in area studies, Latin American studies and Spanish. And so that really opened up Latin America to me and developed my love for people around the world, including there. And so I think one of the things that came out of our conversations among me and Clayton was precisely the idea that we needed to buttress international engagement for higher education institutions by providing better opportunities and better tools. One of the things that CONAHEC has been doing all along has been to try to promote, build sort of a basket of international engagement programs that our members can use to plug into our network with and meet other institutions and work with them and gradually build their collaborations out, many times deepening them and broadening them throughout the institution. And so that's been the idea all along at CONAHEC, to kind of build that basket of internationalization assets. One of the things that we have done in the past has been to work with information systems on the internet. It's an obvious place to do that. And that is one of the strengths that I see in this partnership as well, is that the work that you guys are doing is very exciting in this area. And it's something that during this pandemic, when a lot of our mobility programs have slowed dramatically, as you can imagine, and I think that's true for many organizations that work in international education, one of the things that has happened has been this pivot towards these wonderful technologies that we have on the internet now. And so it's exciting to see an organization like AHEA that's working very intentionally to build up that kind of a platform with input from people that would actually benefit from using it. So not just prescribing this is how it should work, but rather having that interaction with members of the faculty, with administrators in international education departments, to see what are the pain points, what are the things that people need, and then to try to build towards that and build a community in the process. And so I think that the organizations are very much aligned in terms of our interests, and it's just an opportunity that I couldn't pass up, particularly having the opportunity to work with you all now that I'm getting to know more of you. It's been very, very rewarding in that way. I think with CONAHEC. CONAHEC's a wonderful network. I've been very fortunate to become involved with it. It has had that. I mean, I've known, for example, Ismael since I guess, I don't know, early 2000s, just through the network, and others, and many others. And so in some ways it has an international education family that's built up inside of it. And it's interesting because I don't get to interact with everybody all the time, but I would say that my closest friends are among the people that I've managed to have the opportunity to work with through this organization. And so that part of it has been, absolutely life-changing for me as well, in terms of my orientation towards promoting this kind of collaboration and these opportunities for students and faculty and administrators.
Thank you, Sean. And yes, I think I feel like we hit the jackpot really in working with CONAHEC, because you have a very active organization, and there's a very strong demonstration of that desire for exchange. And there was equally strong of an effort to be able to change directions during this pandemic, as you mentioned. And so we're really happy to be able to support that and help provide the technology to do that going forward. I do want to ask another question, and it is based on really the results, the context of the global pandemic. So for Robert, Leo, and Ismael, you've had experience in virtual exchange now as part of the pandemic, and perhaps before the pandemic even emerged. You've been working on virtual international collaboration and developing programs. What challenges did you encounter? We had that slide. We asked that question during the registration process for our participants, and we saw their responses, and perhaps some of their responses resonated with yours as well. But can you talk a little bit about what some of those challenges or obstacles typically have been, and then really what you see the potential of this inspired platform, this collaborated solution, to help mitigate some of those obstacles? Robert, would you kick us off?
Yeah, definitely. I think that just like in life, the biggest challenge educators face is finding an exchange partner that's on the same page. And we saw that pretty much everybody agreed with that statement. And the reason that is because there's many different ways a virtual exchange can be implemented. That means people have different expectations, different goals, different plans. It can be a short project where students from different countries just gather ideas for something. For 1 or 2 classes, or it can be a full exchange semester where students work together in teams, go through the same content and exercises. I think Inspired forces educators to communicate their expectations and goals early on and continuously. And they make sure that educators don't get sidetracked and stay focused on what matters most. And that's student learning. So it's not about what the educators wants to look good, but it's, hey, no, what is the goal of this course? What do you want to achieve? How do you want to achieve student learning? So really appreciate that focus on communication and on student learning.
Great, thank you. Leo, what would you add from your perspective?
Yes, I agree with Robert. I think finding a good partner is probably the major challenge that you encounter in virtual exchange. But also I would add that you need to consider the logistics part, because when you work with, even though Canada and Mexico pretty much align in terms of time zones, we did have issues in terms of having those synchronous activities when we could not match our time zones and classes during the project. Like I mentioned, this was my first time participating in a virtual international collaboration, and I do see a lot of value in the platform that AHEA has developed. Not only it can provide a virtual space to meet professors from all over the world with similar courses and research interests, as you mentioned, Carly, in your demonstration, but also the platform helps you develop that collaboration. I think that's a lot of value that you put forward. So overall, I had a great experience working with Robert, and I think the platform gave us the tools to find those common grounds where our collaboration could flourish. And I do see a great potential in the platform moving forward in a post-pandemic world.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you. Ismael, you have the perspective of an administrator who wasn't necessarily building a course hands-on, but really overseeing the process, observing it so that you could decide, is this a worthwhile endeavor? And is this something that would really be helpful for individual faculty members, for academic leaders and institutions? Could you share a little bit about your thoughts with us?
Yes, definitely. I would definitely echo Robert and Leo's comment on finding the perfect marriage partner, the project partner. Yes, you see, I have been in international higher education for the last 24 years, and I have witnessed ups and downs within Universidad de Guadalajara. Could you believe that in mid-90s, yeah, that was last century, CUSEA, this specific campus of Universidad de Guadalajara, had one IP port, and professors would create mirror programs or to collaborate with international US and Canadian partners to have one class, one project for all 3 classrooms, and CUSEA professors will be having their students communicate via Messenger, the old-fashioned way, and emails, but then once a month we'll have an IP connection. Only one port, only one auditorium, only one opportunity, and it had to be scheduled. This is in the late 90s. Today, we can do it on our phones. So definitely this platform and these new approaches are music to our ears as administrators, as we want to encourage our professors, our researchers to find the perfect partner in crime in order to develop these new programs and academic components that will definitely provide a more democratic approach to internationalization, because now students, provided they have the language skills, of course, to communicate with our Chinese, Japanese, Korean, European, Australian, and North American partners in those specific languages. Of course, we would love our partners also to speak Spanish if that's possible, but our students do have the language skills. Our professors might have the notion and the agreement to do so, but we definitely needed a platform to be user-friendly and for them not to be discouraged. So I believe there's a nice, good light in the future ahead of us at the end of this tunnel of the pandemic, thanks to the platforms. Thank you.
That's an amazing history you just walked us through, Ismael. And you're right. It's not that long ago. So it's amazing to see where we've come from, but also I think it's so important to be able to support where we want to go with education, with higher education, and with nationalization opportunities we have. Sean, I want to ask you to share your thoughts too. You acted as an administrator for us in that first cohort of faculty fellows, overseeing projects, because it was important, I think, that you had eyes on them as the executive director of CONAHEC. So what are your thoughts about really the impact of the pandemic and the opportunity for the platform to support virtual exchange? We'll just take you off of mute, Sean.
Sorry. Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, no, with our mobility programs, we have the student and faculty and staff mobility programs that we offer. coming to a grinding halt during the pandemic, and all of our institutions pivoting to various online activities, including offering courses locally and regionally, but beyond that, thinking about international engagement using online tools. This has been an ideal moment to really focus in on these kinds of opportunities in the international education space. And so I think that in some ways, working out the kinks and getting people interested and familiar with some of the opportunities has been wonderful to watch. I mean, with the pilot, it was a relatively small scale activity in terms of the number of faculty that were able to participate and the number of groups we were able to accommodate in that. But I think overall, one of the things that is the most valuable has been precisely the process of looking at trying to pivot to international engagement using different tools that are available on the internet, and how those can sort of be consolidated in a place where an institution can create assets that can be later shared with other members at their own institution, and that can be reused over time. And I think that that part of it creates the possibility for scaffolding your international engagement with partners and sort of expanding it more broadly, both inside the institution and beyond it. And so ultimately, I think that the Inspired platform and the tools that are being developed and that the faculty have actually contributed enormously to in terms of their suggestions and their evaluation and ideas, I think that is the right path to go on to build a platform like this and to have that kind of broad impact on international engagement in institutions. So I've been very excited to be part of the pilot project, and I'm looking forward to our continued collaboration going forward.
Thanks, Sean. And you really hit on something. That involvement of the faculty is so important. Rather than just us kind of dreaming up what we think the platform should do, having that feedback from Leo, from Robert, from Ismael, from the other faculty fellows and administrators that participated really has helped shape and make this a solution, I think, that can really help everyone going forward. And my next question, Robert and Leo, really is kind of about that forward path. Everything that I'm hearing from the field, the general consensus is that student mobility really is going to be on hold for at least another 12 months. So let me ask this: can virtual exchange really counter the effects of less diversity, since we're not able to host exchange students right now, since we're not able to conduct study abroad programs? Can virtual exchange help supplement the diversity, and can it increase interaction and intercultural learning? Those are, I think, the questions that people want to know when they're thinking about investing in, and not necessarily even money, but the time and the effort to create virtual exchange opportunities. Leo, would you answer that one for us first?
Yes, thank you, Carly. I'm sure that a virtual exchange is here to stay, and not only due to the economic benefits that you mentioned of connecting students through technological tools, but I think also these type of experiences will develop new skills that students need to, in terms of remote working for the future. In the case of my students that are participating in a virtual exchange program right now with Robert's students, they have given a very positive feedback from the project. They are learning about Canadian culture, they are practicing and improving their English communication skills, and overall they are participating in various academic activities related to the project. The students, from what I've spoken with them, they're using and learning to use various technological tools to communicate in synchronous and asynchronous ways, which I think is a very positive effect from this experience. So I think it's not only about the virtual experience itself, but also all that learning that goes along with the learning of new technological tools for students moving forward in their careers.
And Robert, what would you add to that?
I would say that a virtual exchange is different from a real exchange, but based on my own experience, a real exchange is expensive and, well, a little bit scary at times too. At Brock University, 25% of our students are trailblazers, meaning they're first-generation students, and they may not have the financial support at home or are simply overwhelmed with the university experience itself. So studying abroad is probably the last thing on their minds. Virtual exchange is not perfect, but I think it's a way for all students to get their feedback, and I think the pandemic made us very aware of the potential that virtual exchange has to increase diversity in the classroom, but also beyond. I'm pretty sure that after spending 9 weeks, 12 weeks, 15 weeks together in one team, students form some sort of friendship. So ideally, this bond between students creates something that compensates for the lack of being there. That means there will be outside meetings, outside classroom meetings. So I'm pretty sure that virtual exchange increased tenfold during the pandemic, but it's also here to stay because it is an important way to bring diversity into the classroom and teach students the importance of communicating with people that may not speak their own language.
Excellent, thank you. I want to pause for just a moment before our last panelist question and invite our participants in the webinar to input any questions you may have into the Q&A icon. If you select the Q&A icon, you'll get a little pop-up window, and we welcome your questions. After this next question for all 4 of our panelists, we'll go to the Q&A. So with that, as you're entering your questions, I just want to ask Robert and Leo, from the faculty perspective, and Ismail and Sean, I'll ask you the same question from the administrator perspective. Really, American Higher Education Alliance has as its mission to provide quality assurance measures. So we want to make sure that we're offering guidance and standards that provide quality across disparate institutions and varying credentials of faculty in institutions. So we want to provide that to member institutions. And part of that was having Dr. Stephen Tippett provide mentoring on the COIL methodology to faculty. And as administrators, I know that you oversaw and you listened in on those sessions as well. So Robert and Leo, would you first talk about that experience? Was that a valuable component? And then Sean and Ismail, if you would comment on that as well, we would really appreciate that.
Certainly. Again, certainly similar to my students who consider studying abroad, I had, of course, concerns too about how to incorporate the virtual exchange in my class. Moreover, I really had no idea where to start and what to do. So having a mentor provide us with guidance was extremely helpful, especially when it was, well, there was specific milestones we had to meet. Well, that means we have to meet right now. And Stephen was there to provide, say, this is what you have to do. He told us, well, the goals of this class should look like this, and provide us resources. Again, I think especially the first time knowing there's a mentor there that helps you develop this course was a tremendous asset.
Great, thank you.
Yes. To be honest, I was a bit scared when I was invited to participate in the fellowship program, specifically because this was the first time that the university, my campus, CUSEA, went on this path of offering a business, the professional ethics course in English. And added to that, through a virtual exchange experience was a bit daunting. So I think the mentoring provided by Dr. Tippett was extremely helpful in the development of our project. For example, he highlighted the importance of taking into consideration not only the cultural differences among our students, but also the language barriers that would arise and that did arise between our students, especially the ones on my side, Mexican students that are trying to learn in a different language that are not accustomed to. So that itself, the communication skills became another challenge in the learning process that we kind of had to incorporate in the project itself. So I think it was very helpful to get his feedback on during the project.
Thanks. And Sean?
Yeah, I think that it's fundamental as an approach to have kind of ongoing input and people who have experience developing COIL and in virtual exchange courses on board, so that people who are working on developing these kinds of collaborations have a resource to bounce ideas off of, an idea of, because there's a lot of creativity that goes into this. Often you can come up with an idea that others have tried, and so you can learn from the sort of the wisdom that the collective wisdom that's being generated in all of these activities, to know about what the best tools are to achieve specific learning outcomes, to know where those assets are located out on the internet, if it's not in the platform exactly, but what's available out there. There's kind of a depth of knowledge that's hard to find without having that possibility of interacting with a mentor. And so I think that part of it is incredibly valuable, particularly if you would like to get your collaboration off the ground quickly and address the learning outcomes that you're trying to address efficiently.
Great points. Thank you. And Ismael?
I definitely believe that the mentor is crucial for the administrators and the professors and the academics. When students do exchange in presence, when they travel and they leave home behind, they experience a lot of stress that they might be able to find some guidance and some tutoring and some counseling at the destination. But the professor and the administrator don't go through that stress as the student is exposed to a different language, to a different society, in a different classroom environment. But this time, all of us together were going through the same stress process. So it was unknown to the professor, it was unknown to the administration, it was unknown to the student. So the students might not experience the same impact on online exchange as in face-to-face exchange, but this academic counseling or this tutoring, it's crucial for us who are learning the ropes as we go to implement and to create and to deliver the course. So all three actors are learning at the same time, and all three actors are stressed because we are aware that there's an unknown component to this. For the first time, we're doing this. So having a mentor for academics and administrators is crucial for us to make sure there is top quality delivery of course content as we expected. And our students don't really need to suffer that stress as they are already busy enough exchanging with their non-Mexican, non-local classmates in the program as we are experiencing this semester. So yes and yes. Thank you.
I love all the points you've made. Thank you so much. I just want to remind the audience, we do have some questions that are starting to come in. Please continue to type your questions in the Q&A panel. And my thanks to you as panelists. I think this has been a great conversation. It's always good to hear about other institutions and to learn about individual faculty members and administrators and how you are involved in and supporting international education. We're a proud partner with CONAHEC to be able to support those efforts, and really thank you for your efforts and your participation today. I want to turn it over to Clayton now to conduct the Q&A from the audience.
Thank you very much, Carly. Again, I also want to add my thanks to the panelists for this excellent discussion. Really appreciate your involvement. And I think that it's wonderful to hear also about a lot of work goes into it to take the time to stop and reflect, hear about the experience from all of you as panelists. I appreciate it. We do have some questions that have come in from our audience. Please, we do have some time left, so I encourage those participants to continue to think up questions and add them. Before we get to those questions, though, I did want to ask a question of my own. It does seem like we're going to be essentially teaching online for some time. I know that some universities in the United States, at least, have already decided they're going to be remaining online instruction for the fall semester. So I just wanted to ask quickly, specifically to Ishmael, also, what do you think some of the challenges are from the administration's perspective for the students and also at the institutional level for continuing with online instruction?
I think the key factor at the moment for all of us in CUSEA or Universidad de Guadalajara, if not Mexico at large, is to keep students and faculty interested, to keep both the academics and the students motivated. So it seems that the easier, the friendlier the platform or the gadgets or the tool is, the more attracted and engaged we'll have students and professors. Definitely, it is a major issue we have to face as administrators.
Very good. Thank you for that. We have, with that, I'm going to move on to some of the questions that have come in from the audience. We have some that we do have the ability to answer as they come in. I wanted to know that first we had a question about the translation feature being traditional or simplified Chinese. Just to reiterate the answer that came through, you should be able to choose. I wanted to address again, I know that a couple of folks have asked about the cost. Carly, I believe, addressed this at the very beginning, but I think it's important to come back to again. We are going through a promotional period this summer through which if you register within a certain time frame, you will have 1 year of free access to this platform, which we think is very exciting and are going to help create a lot of equity. So I wanted to stress that again, that over the summer period through August, if you register within a certain time frame, we're very much looking forward to working with you, and you will be granted at least 1 year of free access to the platform. I know, Carly, did you want to add anything to that?
Sure. With that membership, that's per individual members. However, there is nothing that says that your department chair or your chief academic officer or provost can't submit every single faculty member at your institution as an individual member. So just, I wanted to throw that out there because we benefit all together. The more users there are, that's how we have an enriching experience when there are lots of different folks to participate and be matched with and join in on the discussion forums and things like that. So that's why we're having the promotional period. After September 1st, so September 2nd on, is when the membership level fees for individuals, departments, and organizations will kick in. I want to really highlight the fact that through the partnership with CONAHEC, your institution as a CONAHEC member would receive an additional discount off of those membership dues for an annual basis. So whatever that tier is, if it's the departmental or the organizational or the individual level, you'll benefit from the CONAHEC and AHEA partnership. But we really do want a lot of folks to sign up and use the free promotion for the next 12 months. So that, again, sign up is June 1st to September 1st. And with that, we will review the applications. We want to make sure that there are quality assurance standards in place. So we want to make sure that your institution is accredited, that you are employed by them, either as an adjunct or a full-time professor. And a few other steps are involved as well. But then from July on, you'll be able to use that platform for free. And we look forward to having a lot of folks join us.
All right, thank you, Carly. I wanted to also quickly address a sort of a related question that came through and was answered, was about how you go about signing up. Again, we are having this promotional period. It will be available to folks coming from within CONAHEC's network. And of course, you will be hearing from us also regarding the process of getting signed up and getting set up on our platform. So thank you for that question as well. Moving on to some of the others, we do have a question. I can turn this over to see if Robert or Leo, if you have a response to this. I'm not a virtual exchange expert myself, but I have my own thoughts. The question is, how do you add human values to virtual exchanges? And could you give some examples, please? Do either of you have thoughts, having, of course, only gone through the process one time, but oh, Leo, yes.
Hello. Hi, Clayton. Yes, thank you for that question. It's I think it's a very interesting and relevant point that is brought up. And I think, and I'm speaking also in terms of Robert, for our case, human values play a central role in the teaching of business or professional ethics. So in terms of a specific example, I can mention that during the project that we developed together, we gave our students the opportunity to learn and work on a project with a nonprofit organization in Canada that delivers free lunches to kids in the Niagara region. And we also work with a nonprofit organization in Mexico that helps Central American migrants that travel through Mexico to the US. So I believe that giving the students this opportunity to learn about the challenges that society face in other parts of the world will give them a more humanistic learning experience and questions them about their own reality as well. For example, one of my Mexican students is thinking about developing this idea of bringing lunches to kids as she learned that it's being done in the Niagara region. So she wants to see if there's a possibility for her to develop a similar project for her own community. So I think this is one of the most important learning experiences that I have seen through this experience.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. I would only add to that, of course, it's a very good question. I think that was asked about the human values. It really speaks to the quality, being able to design experiences that really have a higher impact on the students by bringing in those human values. I wanted to address another question that has come in specifically about the activities. Obviously, within the context of this webinar, we've been discussing the virtual exchange. That is something that is going to be available. And I think you saw, it was alluded to in my introductory comments, and also Carly, when she was actually doing a demonstration of the platform, you could see that there were other kinds of collaborations. So the question that came in was about the other kinds of collaborations that you could expect. And I think that you saw on the list of things what we're anticipating, obviously, additional webinars, resources, more mentoring opportunities for finding research collaborators, various kinds of projects that we're hoping are going to be coming through the pipeline. So the only limitations there, I think, are the limitations of the imaginations of the users that we're going to be bringing on to the kinds of collaborations that they may think of.
Clayton,
oh yes, please.
I would just add, you mentioned the webinars, which I appreciate. I think we have the opportunity going forward and partnering with CONAHEC and other organizations to be presenting at and sponsoring different activities at online and in-person conferences in the upcoming year too. So as those opportunities come to fruition, we will definitely promote them to our membership so that you're aware and can join from your respective organizations.
Something else I should have mentioned that we're hoping to do is put out some calls for papers. So allowing the participants on various topics to actually present papers to us, which we can then draw from and actually publish in various capacities as well. So I should also mention that. Just moving on to the next question. We did get a question about the use of the LMS. We are going to have an LMS that will be integrated as our platform with our platform. This question specifically is, I think, about linking to LMSs that are in the European Union, and specifically about the data protection laws, of course, that we all know are very stringent there, and how that would function. I will also let Carly comment on this. My guess is that, that's not an easy one. It will be something of a case-by-case basis, I think, to assume, looking at the content and how we would go about that process of trying to transfer information or upload information into an LMS. So it's a little hard to dig into the details there without really spelling out a very, very specific scenario. But we are interested, of course, in working with our user base, our member institutions, to make that happen. Carly, you have anything to add there?
Sure. We have been working with our education technology partners to identify the GDPR and CCPA compliance thresholds and standards, and there are others in other countries as well. So part of that can be accomplished by delivering or housing our software in that particular country. So having a container, if you will. I don't want to go into geek speak, but being able to host our software in that country so that it complies with the standards. Some of that may be by a general consent form for the use and terms of use and standards that we comply with. So it is a little bit, Clayton, case by case, because it varies depending on the country and the region. But we are aware of those standards, and we're working with our ed tech partners to make sure that we comply as much as possible.
All right, wonderful. Thank you very much again. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that we have gone through all of the questions that are on our list. We do have one more minute, though we are just about out of time here.
So Clayton, while we see if anyone else types in a question, I just wanted to invite everyone to follow both CONAHEC and AHEA online. We have our handles up there for each organization respectively, and that's available. And then finally, if you're wondering how to go about expressing your interest in receiving an application, if you visit aheaalliance.org, and you can either navigate from the menu in the upper left corner or use this link here, aheaalliance.org/join. You'll be able to find the inquiry form. So that there's just a few brief pieces of information we'll ask you for, and then come June 1st, we can send you the link to the online application, and you'll be able to submit that, fill that out. Again, we will review each application, check for compliance standards, and then open it up for use of all of the AHEA membership benefits beginning July 1st.
Thank you, Carly. I think we are just about out of time. I want to give one last very special thank you to all of our panelists and to CONAHEC and to everyone who participated today. We very much look forward to continuing this conversation and hopefully working with all of you.